a lot of you guys on the call last night with Carrie Kirpin. That was an amazing mentorship call for those that joined. But today we have a very special guest, Jhana Li. For those of you that were at the first workshop that we did last month with Jhana, if you could just comment in the chat, if you were there, so that Jhana knows that she's got some repeat people coming in.
Returning fans.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Thanks, Joshua. Thanks, Lisa. Good to see you guys. Guys, if we could go cameras on as well. I love knowing I'm speaking to human beings and not just a big black void. Nice. Hey, Colette. Good to see you all. Jack, you got any housekeeping items for these guys before we dive in?
No, not as right now. We're ready to get started, guys. Just for, especially if you're new here, if you could just comment in the chat where you're calling in from and what business that you run. And John, is there anything else you want them to comment in to give you an idea?
Yeah. Let me know how many people are on your team currently, because that's actually going to help me adjust my content for you all today and make it as valuable and relevant as possible for you all. 2 so far from Canada. Welcome in. Good to see you guys. Yeah. So drop where you're from and how many people are on your team. Amazing, guys. Cool. 2 teams, 5, 10. 2, 2. Okay, perfect. This is ideal, guys, because we're going to be talking about a system today. And if you're somewhere in the 2 to 5 people range, this is the right time to be building and rolling out this system. If you're bigger than this, it was the right time 6 months ago. So it's okay. And you're just a little bit behind the ball, but it is also absolutely key and relevant for you guys as well. I'm super excited for this. Australia, Naples, Arizona, El Paso. We got people all over the place, Jack. This is awesome.
Yeah, we got a worldwide community. And then we have
I love it.
From Italy in here. We got some people from Egypt. This is
New Zealand.
New Zealand. Yeah.
I don't know what time it is right now, New Zealand. Thanks for being up, guys. I really appreciate that. All right. We good to dive in?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So guys, this is gonna be a long one. I've got my water, make sure like human needs are taken care of here. We're just gonna dive right into this. So last time, if you missed it, I did a whole deep dive into my team building system, my hiring, training, and onboarding. How do we get world-class A players onto our team consistently? My hope is that some of you guys have taken that information, have applied that, and now these beautiful building teams that you guys have are filled with A players. That would be my dream. If you are running into any challenges coming out of the last call, like we took it, we applied it, we ran into a snag, or we hit a challenge and I don't know how to solve it, I want to make sure we take some time today to carve out for just like lots of Q&A, so that if it's anything to do with hiring or training or anything to do with what we're going to cover today, you guys have plenty of time for real-time Q&A with me, because I like to prioritize the people who prioritize me, and you guys showed up and you came here and you did the work of being here live, which means that you guys get to have your questions answered. So be thinking about that, be pulling in any questions that you brought from our last masterclass or on operations in general. I'm going to be doing my spiel on systems, and as we're going through this kind of systems model, please jump in, drop in the chat. Let me know if you have any real-time questions that we can talk through or clarify that I'm going to be covering with you all today, so that again, we can just make this as relevant to you all as possible. Is that fair? All right, then let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen and you guys tell me if you can see this. Got me? Somebody say yes, because for whatever reason now I can't see you.
Yes.
Great, thank you. All right, hang on, I'm gonna do this one more time because I just lost all your faces and that's just not gonna work for me. All right, now I can see you guys. Thank you all. All right, let's do this. So systems, the sexiest of the topics, right? This is my job, guys. I am here to make systems easy, make them sexy enough that you actually want to take the time to build them out in your company. Because my biggest promise to you is that when you carve out the bandwidth to build these things that we don't like, but that we know that we need, called systems, everything else in your business gets faster, gets easier, and your life as a founder means that you get to spend more and more time away from your business because you have the systems in place. Let me give you a tactical example of this. Last year, I had the opportunity to whitewater raft the Grand Canyon. I don't know who here has done that, but it takes 21 days. And I had about 2 weeks notice, right? So at the drop of a hat, I needed to say, is my team, is my business going to be able to live without me for 3 weeks? Because I will be at the bottom of the Grand Canyon with no cell service. Are they going to be able to run this thing without me? And my immediate and instantaneous answer was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm fucking going on that trip, right? I could not have done that without systems, period. Because if you don't have systems in your business, then you are the system. That's just the truth. If you don't have systems in your business, then you are the system. And that means you have to show up every single day and tell people what to do and manage the workload and manage the leads and answer client questions, because the systems aren't there to do it for you. And so if any part of your goal with what you're building with your business right now is growth or scale or freedom, systems are an absolute non-negotiable. Is that fair? You don't own a business, you own a job. Ain't that the truth, Jonathan? Cool. So let's talk about it. Why do we need systems? I think of systems as the skeleton of a business. Systems are what allow like one hand over here to coordinate with one hand over here, and together we're gonna slam them together, we're gonna make a noise, right? This is sales coordinating its efforts with marketing, and client success coordinating its efforts with product. These are different verticals, different departments in your business, and the systems are what allow all of them to move together as a single cohesive whole. If you don't have systems, we've got Mr. Harry Potter here on the right-hand side, right? It's just a mess. We're just a puddle on the floor. We're just flopping around all over the place trying to figure things out. And the reality is that all that does is it costs us a shit ton of time and energy. Because again, now we're the system. Now we're the person running around trying to figure out what's going on, trying to coordinate all these actions across our team, when instead 100% of that could be automated and delegated to the system. So these are like at the baseline, right? We're gonna get into the tactical of what these systems need to look like. But at a baseline, it's just a skeleton. And like a skeleton, it needs to grow and evolve as your company grows and evolves. So do you guys need all of these systems tomorrow? Hell no. Right? If you're just starting out, if you're a solopreneur, what's there really to systemize? You need a couple of things, and we'll talk through which of those they are. But as you grow, as your company grows, you're going to need to start to layer in new systems and evolve and improve the systems that you currently have, because it's a skeleton. So it has to evolve as the body does. So these are the overarching view of the systems that are going to grow and evolve organically within your company as we grow here. Marketing, this one kind of depends. Totally depends on the marketing strategy that you're running. If you're doing paid ads, then these are going to be tools like Hybros that are going to allow you to track paid ad strategy and data collection. If you're doing social media marketing, then it's going to be a social media marketing manager, right? But there's going to be some sort of core system that is going to allow you to capture your leads and then nurture them, which pulls us into sales. Sales, the primary system is called a CRM. Who here has a CRM? Drop a one in the chat, just so I know kind of where we're at here. Drop a 1 in the chat if you have a sales CRM right now. Let's go. High level, Active Campaign, Pipedrive, HubSpot, they all work, guys. But I'm talking about something a little bit more than just like a spreadsheet with a bunch of leads listed on it. Cool. Quite a few of us. Awesome. Great. So that's your sales CRM. That's one of the first systems that need to come online, guys. Marketing and sales go first, because when you're small, frankly, nothing else in your business matters. All we have is marketing and sales. Can we acquire leads? Can we close them? That's what matters when you're in the 10K, 20K per month kind of range. That's where you need to focus. The only other system that you really need is finance. I need a way of collecting payment, right? I need a merchant processor. And with that, you've got the initial skeleton. You've got the baby systems that you need to take you to the next level. Cool. I'm hoping that most of us are already past that point. So I'm not going to spend too much time there, but if you have any questions, again, I'm keeping an eye on the chat, so drop them in there and we can pause at any point to dive into this. So cool. We built out our marketing system, our sales system. We have a way of collecting payment. And now is where we get to backend systems. These are the way less understood, take way too long. People spend they delay way too long to get these rolled out. So this is where I'm going to focus us today, right? How do we create systems for our backend team? This is product fulfillment, client success, operations. These are the systems that run the back end of the business. Actually, it's one system. It's one system. And I call this system the single source of truth. And I know that sounds very exaggerated, but it's really not. I call it the single source of truth because that's exactly what it does. It manages all of the backend activity within your business. All the entire backend team, all of the day-to-day work that your backend team needs to do should be run through this system. If you don't have a backend team yet, perfect. Get this system in place. And then as you start to onboard and grow your backend team, you are growing them into a system that already exists, as opposed to what I most often see, which is we have 10 team members, we're running this thing out of like Facebook Messenger and Slack and Google Sheets, and everything's a goddamn mess, and we have no centralization at all. That's what we're trying to avoid, right? That's going to cost you a lot of time and energy down the road. So better to get this system in place now and then allow it to grow and evolve as you do. ClickUp is the best so far. Yes, we can get into ClickUp. ClickUp is absolutely a solution on this. I'm going to be showing you guys my single source of truth. We use ClickUp, but does that make it the best one? It makes it a good one, but they all work. If you're already using money.com, if you're already using Asana and you like it and it's working, keep it. The Hermosis run off of Asana. I know multiple 8-figure business owners who run off of money.com. They all get you there. They all work. The point is just pick one and actually stick to it and actually use it, right? Okay, so these are kind of the core pillars of our systems. What do marketing and sales systems look like for a beginner? Adrian, for a beginner, they look like Google Sheets, right? We don't need to get super crazy fancy with our systems at the beginning if we're still just trying to figure out how to learn. How do we acquire leads? How do we close them? So a Google Sheet works great up to like 5K a month, 10K a month. And then at that point, we have to start leveling up into some of the softwares that you see listed here. Okay, perfect. So how do you know? How do you know it's time to build or update a system? This is a really important question because I've got this whole big list of systems here. How do we know which ones to start with? How do we know which ones to build? I always say, guys, your business will always speak to you. Your business will tell you where it needs a system. What will it tell you? What will it say? What it's going to say is, wow, there's a lot of dropped balls happening over here. This is a real pain in your ass now because you have to constantly wake up every day and put out fires and handle dropped balls over here. Great. That's your business talking to you. Your business is saying, we need a system. Where are you feeling the most friction in your business? Where is the most of your time and energy being eaten up in the day-to-day of your business? That is a telltale sign that you either need a person there or you need a system. If you need a person, refer to my last masterclass. If you need a system, that's what we're going to cover today. Okay. But the reality is that your business will always speak to you. Where we get ourselves into trouble is when we ignore what our business is saying. When we have all these balls and all these fires and all this stuff is coming at us, and what we hear is just work harder. Just work harder. Just answer all of those Slack messages. It's okay. You can do it. Just handle all of those client fires. Don't worry. You won't burn out. It's fine. Right? That's where we get ourselves into trouble. Your business is speaking to you. Listen to it. If you build a system to begin with, then you get to avoid all of that pain and wasted time, especially as you grow down the road. Okay. Good on this? We're going to keep going. Again, drop your questions in the chat. So, like I mentioned, the single most, in my opinion, system that you can start to build out in your business. So when should you build this system? You should build it when you start to have a critical mass of clients. So 5, 10, 15 clients is when you can start to get real value out of this system. When you start to build your backend team. So now I have 2, 3, 4 people on the backend who are running out of this system and need to know how to use it to coordinate all the tasks that are taking place across the business. Again, complexity is going to start to increase. Complicated, like the complexity factor is going to start to increase on the back end of your business. That's going to start costing you time. Balls are going to start to get dropped. Fires are going to start to crop up. You're going to find more and more of your time being spent on meetings, just keeping everything straight and figuring out what the heck is even going on. That is data. Your business is talking to you. It's time to build out your single source of truth. So just so I know, who thinks they're already there? Drop a 2 in the chat. If you think you're already there, it's time for me to build this system, or I think I'm going to get there in like the next 90 days. Josh was there. Shake Sebastian. Awesome. So guys, even if that's not you yet, pay attention because again, you need to know what to look for in your business. And I'm going to outline what this system can and should look like so that you know what you need to build towards by the time you get there. All right. Good on this? Let's do it. What does this thing look like? There are 4 core pillars, core functions of your single source of truth. You got SOPs. We'll dive into those. Master dashboards, individual to-dos, meeting agendas. These are the core 4 things that get built out within your single source of truth to run the 80-20 of the back end of your business. Okay. Let's take them one at a time. If I was to start anywhere, I wouldn't start with SOPs. I know we all love SOPs. I know we all jump to SOPs first. I would not start there. I would start with master dashboards. What are master dashboards? Now, master dashboards, very simply, are a library where all of the information relevant to, let's say, clients, for example, get stored, right? So if I have 10 clients that I'm working with, this is where I'm going to store client name, client emails, and their addresses, team names, payment, like what payment plan they're on, what products we're offering for them, what their dog's name is, and when their dog's birthday is, so I can send them a gift, right? All of the relevant information that I need to know or have organized related to a client goes into my client master dashboard. That's the very first dashboard I recommend you start with, the client master dashboard, right? Because what happens when we start, we can either A, keep all of this information up in our brain so it works fine, or somewhere like on a note on our phone. Maybe at some point we'll upgrade to like a spreadsheet, right? But I have worked with clients, guys, that have scaled to 7 figures off of the spreadsheets. And what happens? Those spreadsheets are a goddamn mess. They're a mess. Information is getting deleted all the time. The information is not actually accurate. It's not actually helpful. Clients are getting dropped. Clients are getting unhappy. Clients are turning out because of simple things. Like we forgot when their dog's birthday was and we didn't send a gift, and that might have saved that client because we just fucked up this other thing over here, but they really like us, right? So client information starts to get organized and centralized inside of our master dashboards, okay? So this is an example. Here's all the things that get to go into this dashboard. This is also where we start tracking client performance. So as a baseline, like the most simple version of this is just a red, yellow, green system. So I've got my client name, I have the account manager, and then I have status, red, yellow, green. Is my client unhappy? That's red. Is my client at risk? That's yellow. Where's my client the happiest thing in the whole world? That's green, right? Why is this important? Again, it's important because when we start to grow, when we start to scale up, all of a sudden we're not just looking at 5 clients. Like off the top of my head, if I asked you, hey, top 5 clients, who are they? You can probably just rattle them off. You're storing all of this information in your brain. But what happens when you have 30 clients, 50 clients? Are you still going to store all that information in your brain? Yeah. If you don't have a system, if you don't have a master dashboard, and then who is your team coming to? When they're like, hey, what's going on with this client? Is this client happy? What do I need to do for this client? What needs to happen for this client next? They come to you because you're the system. And so from the very, very beginning, we're getting all of this information out of our brain, and we're building it into a very simple dashboard that is going to grow and scale with us. Does this make sense, guys? I'm just going to chat here. Processes and workflows, we're going to get to that next, Joey. Not a worry. Lisa says yes. Thanks, Lisa. Cool. Now we're going to move on. Okay, so client information, client performance, and then client execution. So for example, how many people drop balls during client onboarding? Probably all of us, right? Because client onboarding is a mess. It's really hard. In fact, we're actually going to use that as an example of how we bring the single source of truth system together to help us automate fully automate client onboarding, right? So if there are 100 different steps that need to take place in order for you to successfully onboard a client, having a dedicated dashboard just around client onboarding, where you're able to move clients through all of the various stages of onboarding, and at a glance, you and your team can see where are clients at, how are they doing, what needs to happen next. That might be a dashboard that's worth building out because your team needs that much visibility and tracking into just that piece of the business, right? We see this with failed payments a lot, or like having a payment dashboard, so that at a glance, your team can see what are the clients paying, where are they at in their payment plan, when are they up for renewal because I need to send their dog a birthday gift so that they renew with us, who is a failed payment or a blocked payment that we need to reach out to, we need to get the new credit card on file, right? So just a sub dashboard that helps you see just payments, right? I'm giving you guys different examples here. Again, your business will speak to you. Do I need an onboarding dashboard? Not if onboarding is going fine. No, you don't. It's probably fine. Do I need a failed payments dashboard? Not if you never have any failed payments, right? Your business will talk to you. When there's more friction, when there's more dropped balls, that's an indication that maybe we need a dedicated dashboard and a dedicated system around that. Cool. What's important to understand about master dashboards, guys, is that they are a repository, they're a library. They're where information gets organized and stored, but they're not a task tracker. This is not where work gets done. Work gets done. Yeah, right. Work gets done a little bit later on. We're gonna get to that next. Who asked about workflows and processes? Joey. This is where we get into workflows and processes, right? Okay. How many people here have SOPs? Drop a 3 in the chat if you have SOPs. Shake does, Joey does, Soraya. Okay, great. So you guys have SOPs, fantastic. As you guys start to build and scale out your team, you're going to have more and more SOPs that need to like come online, be documented, be written down, be launched, right? I kid you not. I have worked with 7-figure clients where the founder is spending 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, literally just updating SOPs. Just running around the company saying, do we have an SOP for that? That SOP is out of date. It's been out of date for 6 months. We got to update that one. SOP over here is a total mess. Nobody's even using this SOP, and it's in like a Loom video that nobody's ever looked at, right? Again, I'm future pacing this for you guys so that we can avoid all of the time and energy wasted by making this mistake ourselves. Instead, the second we build an SOP, our very first one, we build an SOP warehouse. This belongs in your single source of truth. This is a file called SOP warehouse. And underneath it is a list broken down by department or broken down by role of all of the relevant SOPs within the company, right? So housed in a single location, that's the key here. Some SOPs might be Loom videos, some SOPs might be Google Docs, but we're going to link those into our single source of truth. All of it is going to wind up in ClickUp. Does that make sense? So I'm not saying you have to build and house all of your SOPs inside of this software. I'm saying you have to link and organize it. So that instead of your team having to click around 5 different places to try and find the relevant SOP, they go to one place. And then that one place will link them out to the relevant SOP if it's somewhere else. How things are done, how we do things. What is an SOP? Yes, an SOP stands for a standard operating procedure. SOP is essentially a recipe. It's a recipe for how work gets done in the business, right? So your client onboarding recipe will look something like collect payment, get contract signed, have launch call, launch ads. That's a recipe. It's the 4-step process that needs to be run in order for a client to go from closed to onboarded, right? So these are the process, like code words for SOPs, processes, workflows. These are just the things that need to get done repeatedly in your company that because they happen the same way every single time, we can build a recipe around it so that our team can refer to the recipe book, read the recipe, follow the recipe every single time, and the right thing gets made every single time. Yeah, great definition there, Jack. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, EMET is what is onboarding. Onboarding is like client onboarding, right? So how do we create a experience, a set of steps that our client is going through so that we can successfully launch our services every single time? How do we collect payment? How do we get a contract signed? Do we have a launch call? What information do we need to gather from the client in order to be able to launch their ads or what it is that we're doing for them? All of that goes into client onboarding, Adrian. These are great questions, guys. Okay, so when you have a core process that needs to get done in your business, you're going to build an SOP around it. The tool that I would recommend, I'm going to drop right here in the chat, is called Scribe, and this is an AI SOP builder. So you can literally just do the thing, right? Onboard the client, whatever it is, launch the ad, turn on Scribe How, it will watch your screen and watch you do the process, and then the AI will convert that into an SOP, and now you've got your very first SOP. Congratulations. But the key is that then gets stored inside of ClickUp or Monday.com or Asana so that all of your SOPs exist in one place. I can just show you guys an example here. Let me just pull up my single source of truth. Would that be helpful? So people can get an idea what this actually looks like. Okay, so you guys are gonna see a lot of screens. Bear with me on this one. We're going off script. Okay, so we have over here on the left-hand side, this is ClickUp. This is the inside ClickUp. We have an operations folder, and in that we have our SOP library. Inside of this, we have all of the SOPs that run my entire business, right? We have SOPs for client onboarding. We have SOPs for our coaching program, right? We coach operators, and there's specific processes that need to get followed to get their operator launched in the program, to make sure we're checking in with their operator every single week, to make sure that operator is working on the right things. There's SOPs to make sure that happens every time. We have finance SOPs around how we collect payments or make sure that we're not over or undercharging a client. We have automation SOPs, marketing, placement, right? We do recruitment services, we recruit operators. So there's a whole set of processes that go into that, right? So as you start to build and layer in different processes across your business, the key is that they're all landing in one place. So that if I'm on the recruitment team, I don't have to click around 5 different locations to figure out how to do my job. I go to our placement SOPs, I click this, and this is everything that I need to find as it relates to how to do my job. Does this make sense, guys? With me on this? Thumbs up. Okay, cool. So we've got SOPs. We've covered that. Looks like mine added a video. Yeah, 100%. So again, you can have video-based SOPs, but it's just going to be a task that says client onboarding, and then it's a Loom link, and I click on Loom, and it takes me to Loom, and then I can watch the video, right? It's all coming back to the same place. All right. So we've got SOPs. We've got the warehouse. This is also where project management would live. So if you guys have like a really big project, a product that you're launching or something like that, having a dedicated board that just manages all of your tasks related to that project, that would live in your single source of truth, right? So guys, you can see I've got my little scoreboard going on here. Asana, Monday.com, and ClickUp are probably the 3 most popular single sources of truth out there. They all work. My personal preference is ClickUp, but I will say this again. The only right system is the one that you actually use. So if you get into ClickUp and it doesn't make any sense and you really hate it and it's totally convoluted and it just breaks your brain, don't use it. And if Asana is easy and makes sense and is awesome for you, use Asana, right? As long as you use it, as long as your team uses it. Because what doesn't work is having all of your SOPs in a million places and having your client dashboard being in some combination of a note on your phone, mostly in your brain, and a couple of Slack messages. That doesn't scale. So whatever system works for you to bring it into one place, that's the system we're going to use. Cool. If you guys have any questions about how to build any of these things out within your specific system that you're using, drop those questions in the chat and we'll run through. Cool. All right. What else goes into our single source of truth? Meeting agendas. How many, you know what, I'm not even gonna ask this because I doubt it's most anybody here. How many of us use meeting agendas, right? Probably not. We probably just show up on a call and say, let's have a meeting. Jack's like, no, not even me, dude. Yeah, for a long time I didn't. Lisa, gold star. Right? Who needs an agenda? There's like 3 of us. We're just gonna show up. We're gonna say what needs to be said. I'm gonna ask everybody, like, look at your notebooks. What do we need to talk about? Here we are. We're gonna talk about it, and away we go. The point of meeting agendas is that, guys, you spend an enormous amount of time, and your team spends an enormous amount of time on meetings. If we were to add it all the way up, your team is spending a collective of hundreds and at scale, thousands of hours collectively when all is added up on meetings. So if we can make those meetings even 10%, 20% more efficient, 20% more effective, that is hundreds of hours that you're paying for that get to be taken out of meetings and get to be put back towards things that actually make you money. Time spent talking is time not spent growing the business. And so as much as possible, we want to minimize time spent talking so that we can maximize time spent doing the actual value add things that are going to make you more revenue. Okay. So meeting agendas are an efficiency play. They let us spend less time talking. They're also really important because if there's no meeting agenda, your team has no way of raising their hand to ask for help. We have to show up on a meeting and be like, hey, who's got something? And then somebody has to go deep into their notebook, find the one question that they have, remember that they had a question, raise their hand if you're brave enough to ask for it. Versus if there's a meeting agenda. A meeting agenda is a task list. It's a list. So again, let me stop sharing here. I'll show you exactly what this looks like inside my single source of truth. A meeting agenda is a simple list where anybody is able to add anything that needs to be discussed during that meeting to that board, right? So what this looks like in ClickUp, one way of building this out looks like this, right? So we have dedicated dashboards. Again, these are literally just task lists. That's it. Dedicated dashboards around each of the core meetings that my company has. I have an all-team meeting, I have an acquisition meeting, I have a leadership meeting, I have a product meeting, right? I have an operations meeting. Each of these meetings gets their own task list. And then when it comes time to have that meeting, like we just had our all team huddle today, I can go in here and I can see on the agenda, is there anything that needs to be discussed? Are there any announcements? Well, if there were, they would pop up right here. So if there's not anything, then we keep going. Calendar. I've got all of my team telling us when they're going to be offline, when they're out of office, so we can talk through that. We can make sure balls aren't going to get dropped. Any agenda items. We just cleared the agenda today, right? So there's no results because we just cleared this morning, right? But now over the next 7 days, as my team is struggling or having issues or there's an announcement or something needs to be brought into this meeting, all they do is they create a task, they add it to the dashboard, and now they can totally take that off their mental radar for the next 5 days because they know that on the next all team meeting, this is going to get raised and their question is going to be answered. So this is how we co-create meeting agendas. This is how we crowdsource them, as opposed to what's probably happening right now, if I was to guess, which is if you are having meetings, you're showing up and it's just call and response, right? Jack, how are you doing today? I'm great. Cool. Need anything? No, I'm good. Oh, okay, awesome. Paula, how are we doing today? We good? Yeah, I'm good. Okay, great. Anything else? Guys, that's the worst fucking meeting, right? Everybody hates that meeting. As opposed to Jack has an issue, it's already on the board. Cool, Jack, I see you have an issue. Talk to us about it. What's going on? We knock it out in 30 seconds, we move on. When we have a meeting agenda, meetings start on time and they end early. When we have a meeting agenda, if there's nothing on the agenda, we cancel the meeting because there's no reason to have a meeting if there's nothing on the agenda. All of this is designed to get us time back so we spend less time talking and more time driving growth in the business. Got on that, guys? Our leadership team has a list of action items on iMessage before we hop on, but this should be more robust. Yeah, Jack, let me ask you this. How often have you guys forgotten something because you're having to scroll back through your iMessage thread like 50 times to find the thing that you want to talk about in a meeting?
I mean, it's usually like we'll just be like, hey, like we gotta meet on stuff. Like we'll have like a set meeting time, and then it's just like we'll send like in one chunk, like an iMessage. Like someone will send it, and then like the next person will edit it with like their action items. And then if nobody else has anything to add, then like that's what we're gonna talk about. But definitely, I mean, it's a bit janky. I think that there's a little bit more structure we can put there for sure.
It's not the worst. It's not the worst I've ever heard by any means, right? That is an agenda. But here's the real trick with meeting agendas, guys. And we're gonna get to this next. Is that what happens when we hop on a meeting, on a great meeting, where we're talking about all these ideas, everybody's so lit up, we're so excited, that's an incredible idea, we're totally gonna fucking do that, and then we hop off the meeting, and then 90 days later, we look up and we're like, what the hell happened to that great idea? Where did it go? Oh, we had all these action items that just kind of disappeared into the void. And we hope that somebody grabbed them. And we hope that somebody's working on them. But we have no system that ensures that the ideas that we talk about in our meeting actually get executed. Let's talk about how to build that into your system, into your single source of truth. So when we have a meeting dashboard, if my teammate Galen has something that needs to get done, I can take this task, right? Galen's in Europe. Great. He has to do some shit about that. We assign it to him. We add a due date. And all of a sudden, we get to the final piece of our single source of truth, which is individual to-do lists, individual task management. The way any of these softwares work is that if you have a task with an assignee and a due date, it will automatically add that task to the to-do list of that individual. So when I add Caleb is in Europe and I add him as an assignee and I add a start date and an end date, it will push into his to-do list. So now Galen doesn't have to go to the meeting agenda. He doesn't have to go to Slack. He doesn't have to go to iMessage. He doesn't have to go to anywhere else to know what are all of the things that need to get done related to my role today. He goes to one place and it will automatically pull all of the tasks from all of the other places. It will pull tasks from master dashboards. It will pull tasks from SOPs. It will pull tasks from meetings. So now I go to one place that has all of my tasks across the entire business. And I know if I just knock out every single task that I see on my to-do list, I will have achieved everything that I need to get done every single day. How many of you guys experienced drop balls in your company because you thought that somebody was on top of a task, they had it written down in their notebook or whatever, and then 3 days later, you're like, hey, where are we at with that? And they're like, oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. Nope, it didn't happen. I didn't do it. Or it's behind, it's off track. Or I thought you were doing it. You're not doing it. Shit, I guess I'll do it, right? These things happen all the time when we are the systems, right? You running around and saying, where are we at with that? Where are we at with that? Is that done? Is that done? That is you being the system. Versus we have task lists. Everyone has their own individual task list. Everyone knocks out everything on their task list every day. And all of a sudden, I don't need to worry that when I say something on a meeting and I like thoughts and prayers hope that somebody else is going to do it. Instead, I just assign a task, assign it to them, and then it's done. I can literally take it off of my mental bandwidth. I don't follow up with my team guys to see if they did their task. It is assumed because we've built the behavior from the beginning that this is your task list and your job is to get everything on this list done. If you have a hard time, if you run into a block, if you get confused on how to knock something out on your task list, add it to the meeting agenda. We'll talk about it, right? But I don't have to spend a second of my time managing my team's work. The system manages their work. The system reminds them what they need to get done today. The system prioritizes their tasks, and the system will remind them if their task is not done. I don't have to do any of that. Does this make sense, guys? Cool. There's a couple of questions in the chat. Let me look at this. Dennis, how can you take it off the mental list if it's not done and you still have to follow up with it? That's what's so genius about this, Dennis. I don't follow up with it because now the task is on my team's to-do list, and I've set a rock hard, ironclad expectation that every day the job is that you get the task list done. If you can't, if you run into a blocker, if you're unable to knock out your list, you raise your hand and you ask for help. You drop me a question in Slack. You add it to a meeting agenda. You notify me and you say, hey, I wasn't able to get to this today, but I'll have it done tomorrow. So my team will follow up with me if there's something that I need to know about that task, but I will never follow up with them. I assume that the task is done because the system is establishing what tasks need to be done by when, and it gets done every single day, right? So I can trust, right? A lot of this comes back to team performance. We have to have the right players in the role. They have to have the right training and onboarding process. Go refer to my other masterclass if you want to know how to do that. But if I have the right people in the right roles, trained and they know how to get their job done, and they just show up to their task list every single day and they knock it out, what is there for me to manage? Like seriously, what is there for me to manage? I don't need to check in on them. I trust them. They're A players. They're crushers. They do a great job in their role. And now they know exactly what needs to get done. And they will tell me if there's a problem or if there's a blocker that they need support with. I can take that entirely off of my list. Cool. Dennis, teams still drop the ball. If I have to ask an employee twice, if there's hell to pay, I give them a deadline and it's met, or I do it and they get let go. That's a pretty intense environment, Dennis. If that works for you, it works for you. But what I would say, Dennis, is that that's not a fair expectation unless your team has a system like this, right? Because then you're saying it is a fireable offense for you to have missed a task that somebody assigned to you 3 weeks ago in Slack and now is buried in the Slack thread. And if you don't catch it and you don't do it, I will fire you. That I don't think is a fair ask for your team. If this is a system that's in place, if they are genuinely set up for success to achieve their tasks every single day, then still pretty intense team environment. But if that's how you want to run it, then it's your business. You get to decide that. But we have to make sure, guys, that we are setting our teams up for success to rise to the level of our expectations, right? I might have all of these high performance expectations. I want my guys to be crushers. I want them to be A players, but they're bogged down every single day in endless Slack messages and they're jumping around 100 different Google Docs trying to find what they're looking for. And I'm mad at them because they're not as productive as I want them to be. That's not them not being A players. That's not your team failing you. That's a lack of system. Your team is not set up for success to do their best work. Clear on that, right? There's a balance between our expectations and the support that we give our team to actually achieve and meet those expectations. Jonathan, do I use the agile methodology for your business? I use parts of it. I like agile quite a bit. But Jonathan, essentially the way that I run operations is that I've studied all the big methods out there and I've just grabbed all the stuff that I like the most. So agile has some good stuff. There's some agile built into this system and how you run it. But in general, no, as a diehard, I'm not a diehard to anything. I use what works best for everything. Cool. Okay. So let's look at this again because we've now covered all of these. We have master dashboards. Master dashboards is where all of the information about our clients is getting stored and organized. So now if I'm an individual just going, like if I'm a client success manager on your team and I have to go reach out to that client because their payment is being renewed, I have the master dashboard flagging that for me, sending a task to my to-do list so that I can see it. And then if I have any questions around that client's email address or what their next payment is supposed to be or where we're at with their performance, are they red, yellow, green, I can pop back into the master dashboard, see exactly what I need to see about that client, and away we go. What I don't have to do is bother anybody else on Slack or iMessage or anything else. Where are we at with that client? When's their upcoming payment? What's their payment going to be? Are they happy or are they sad? What's the last thing we did for that client? The master dashboard holds all of that information. That communication gets eliminated. It literally just gets eliminated because now the system has all of the information that your team needs to just do their work every day. Okay? SOP warehouse. So the way SOPs feed into your individual to-do lists is through what we call checklist SOPs. Let me go back to an example here. I'm going to use an out-of-date one because I know we have a good one here as an example. So client onboarding, right? This tends to be a really complicated SOP. There's a bunch of steps that need to get followed in order for your client to be onboarded successfully every single time. Great. That's a perfect use case for an SOP. So how is this going to run? When we have a new client that needs to get onboarded, we have built out this SOP. We have broken it down into all of its various steps, and we have listed it out as subtasks. So to onboard, this is an old one, but to onboard our clients into what we call our inspections, right? Our inspections are our operational audits, where we do full-blown audits for our company's business. So as you can imagine, there's a bunch of stuff that needs to happen. We need to get access to our company's entire business, all their systems, their org chart. We need to set interviews with their team. We need to collect payment. We need to sign the contract. There's all kinds of stuff that needs to happen for client onboarding to happen successfully for this product. So we've taken all of that and we've built it out into a checklist, just like this, right? This could be 50 items long. It literally doesn't matter. All of the steps that need to happen for this SOP to get run successfully. This is the recipe, right? Every time we are onboarding a new client into our ops inspection, my EA will go in here. He will duplicate this list. He will set all of the assignees. And then he will set a due date, right? This needs to be done today, tomorrow, on Friday. Like he knows that our average onboarding process takes 5 days. And this is when these things need to happen in order that they need to happen. So that's the manual action. You can automate this at scale, but I don't think any of you need to right now. Just do it manually. New client comes in, duplicate the checklist, add an assignee, add a due date. What happens? What happens is that all of those tasks now get pushed out of that SOP warehouse and into the individual to-do list. With me, right? So now the person who's responsible for collecting payment sees a task pop up in their to-do list that says, new client, collect payment. Now the person that needs to schedule one-on-ones with their team has a new task in their task list. Schedule team one-on-ones. Here's all the information you need to do. So my team, because again, we're resting on this behavior, this habit, that every day I'm going to show up and I'm going to knock out my task list. Just by doing that, we have automated this SOP. Because what's happening? My team's just knocking out tasks. Same way they always knock out tasks. They're knocking out tasks every day. They're knocking out tasks on time. And the SOP is being pushed into each relevant person's task list so that it gets done automatically. Dennis, back to your point of like following up, right? I assume that my clients get onboarded correctly because those tasks are getting pushed into the individual to-do list and my team is knocking out those tasks every single time. If an SOP broke, like if the process broke down, I can go back to this list and I can just say, where did it break? Which of these tasks is done? Which of these tasks is blocked? I can literally see down to the step where the process broke, when it broke, and what needs to happen to get it back on track. I can set a setting into this task list so that it will actually notify me if a task gets marked as overdue. So if we're like, it's a little bit much for us to just trust our team and fly away, we can put safety nets in place so that the system will tell us if a task falls behind, if a task gets off track, or if a task gets marked as blocked, it will tell us, right? So now I don't need to check in on that client's onboarding. I just assume that it's running because if it wasn't running, I would know about it. The system would tell me. And I can assume that it's running because my entire team has done this 10 times before, 20 times before. They all know their tasks. They have their SOPs complete with their Loom videos right in there and they can click into it if they need it. And it's populating every day on the right day in their individual to-do list. So they just knock it out and they get it done. With me, guys? SOPs are feeding tasks into your individual to-do list. So you're putting your SOPs on autopilot. That task, does each task have the SOP in it if necessary, right? So for example, send access and info checklist email. Cool. So if I was clicking this, there's a template with that email. There's a link to the access checklist that we need to send. Create team survey duplicate. Cool. There's a set of steps that need to happen in Typeform in order to duplicate the team survey. There's a Loom video in there teaching you how to duplicate the team survey and what step-by-step you need to follow in order to achieve this step. So yes, the short answer to your question, Raya, is yes. We're not putting it down to the individual granular, like click this button, then click this button, then click this button, then click this button. Those are not individual tasks in the task list. It's steps in the process. And then each of those steps can have subtasks or a Loom video breaking it down with more granularity. Cool. As these to-do lists are getting done, that can automatically update cool things like our master dashboard. So if I did have an onboarding master dashboard and client launched gets marked as done, the status in the master dashboard can change to client successfully launched. Beautiful. I can see that. I can see that the client is successfully launched. I don't have to follow up with anybody. I don't have to blow up Slack for anything. It just gets done. And all of this is getting backed by real time with meeting agendas, right? If people are getting stuck, they're adding a task to the meeting dashboard. So it gets talked about during the meeting. If a task comes out of a meeting, it gets assigned and added to the individuals to do. Guys, I know we're getting deep into the tactical here. I promise you this one system at scale transforms your business. When we have these 4 core pillars running this way, what happens? In general, I see teams between 2 to 3x overall productivity. I see Slack chatter decrease by around 50%. Because again, all of that communication around where are we at with this? Did you do this? Where's that client at? When are they paying next? All of that communication disappears. Your team gets more productive. Your team is supported because they're actually able to just access all of the information that they need at the single click of a button, as opposed to clicking around to 5 different locations to try and locate what they're actually looking for. I have a client that I'm working with right now. They built out a hell of a spreadsheet. Like really, they did a good job. They built an incredible spreadsheet and it scaled them all the way up to 400K months. But do you know what else is true? Their client success team is literally 3x larger than it needs to be because their team is spending 2 hours a day updating the spreadsheet instead of actually just doing their job. And so their team they are paying for 4 additional people that they literally don't need, 30K in labor costs that they actually do not need at all because they're in a spreadsheet instead of in a system. Right? So I'm sharing this with you again because the gains of using ClickUp right now when we're small, maybe not much. Maybe we're saving like an hour a week. Maybe we're saving 10 seconds off of a meeting. Maybe we're saving 10 seconds off of a click into a Google Doc. But when we scale and ramp it up across not just ourselves, but our entire team, the gains become tens of hours and then hundreds of hours and then thousands of hours, hours that you are paying for that instead get to be spent making your business money. Good on that? Any questions, guys, around the single source of truth system? Yeah, Shake, what's up?
Hey, Jhana, thank you for the excellent presentation. Learned a lot, and I've been interested in organization for a while. Like I think running DICE systems, things on scalable OS. I've obviously ClickUp is the first system we started with, and I've looked into Cal Newport's deep work stuff. We were also looking at a Slack alternative that was made by the people who make like the Todoist or something.
Sure,
Very interesting thing. We've always like after a long, and then Notion was another big one that we've looked at. But after looking at these various tools and systems and stuff, we're fairly small operationally. It's not so complex. So I think one thing I took away is it's not going to save us so much right now, and it is an investment to make, and the dividends will come later. But very, very curious on like how to learn more, because I always find if I learn enough, then I can implement it more easily, and there's less questions. But the other thing that I'm really curious about is like, so we're still starting with these two things. So there's like single source of truth in terms of knowledge, and then there's like the SOPs and tasks. And I'd like your systematizing and like automating with downstream and stuff. So like, how do you feel about Notion and Google? Like, why do you not use these and just look at like ClickUp for? Is it just because it's easy to turn into tasks? Like the automations for that are good, or like what's the reasoning for even things like the SOPs and the like client information to not be like
So I think the question is like, why is it worth the expense of pulling this all into one place? Which, by the way, guys, especially when we're small, the cost of these softwares is like $12 a month per person, right? So it's actually not that much, right? It will grow. It will become an expense on the balance sheet as your team grows. Maybe I now pay $300 a month for ClickUp every single month, but I have 10, 15 team members in there, right? So it will grow as your company does, and you're not having to shell out for Salesforce or HubSpot or any of these really big expensive softwares before you need it. Cool. So in terms of why is it worth a shake? Because individually, Google Docs are great for SOPs, and Looms are freaking awesome for SOPs. They're so good. We're actually only halfway through this, guys. Believe it or not, I've got a whole thing coming for you on tasks and SOPs here, right? They're also on SOPs. And Google Spreadsheets works fantastic for dashboards, right? You can organize information in a Google Spreadsheet. That works great. And Slack is fantastic. Or like iMessage works great for meeting agendas. Jack proved that, right? Like it works actually really well. But the challenge is that when we have the day-to-day of our business running out of 10 different systems, what doesn't work well is clicking around 10 different systems all day, every day, trying to look for what you're looking for. Trying to see if that task got assigned in Slack, or maybe it was mentioned in iMessage on that last meeting, or maybe it's over here in a Google Sheet, right? Single source of truth. We can still use Google Docs. My team has plenty of Google Docs. We have plenty of Loom videos, tons of sheets. We use Slack, but we're bringing all of that into a single centralized place. Because when we have it centralized, that's where we get the real efficiency gains. That's where our team is saving hours every single week, not losing things, tracking things down. Balls are not getting dropped. Clients aren't pissed because we didn't drop the ball because that task got handled on time because it was in the same place every time. And most importantly, guys, we are not the single source of truth for our business. Your team isn't coming to you all day, every day. Hey, what do I do with this? Hey, what does this client need next? You're not having to follow up with your team. Hey, where are we at with that task? Hey, did that get done? 100% of that gets eliminated because your team now has a system to go through. If they don't have a system, I promise you, they go to you. They will go to you. And it will start to take up 1 hour a day, and then 2 hours a day, and then 3 hours a day. And now I'm working with a client, and I believe he sent 11,000 Slack messages in the last 30 days because that is just how often his team is coming to him, just trying to get information because he is the single source of truth. Does that answer your question, Jake?
Yeah, so 11,300 some a day.
Yes, it's bananas, dude. I think I've sent 11,000 Slack messages all last year. I send 11 messages a day on average or something like that. And that includes like, hey, how are you? I don't talk in Slack. My team doesn't talk in Slack. What's there to talk about? What happens in Slack is, hey, I have a quick clarification question on this task that I saw that you assigned to me. Hey, I need to reschedule a meeting. Something came up. It's for real-time chatter, real-time clarification, real-time communication. It's not for managing and organizing tasks, tracking down information, assigning things to people, or seeing where things are at. All of that happens inside the single source of truth.
Okay, great. I'm happy to use ClickUp to do that. Do you have any like resources?
Yeah, so I mean, this is literally what we do. We have an entire Ops Academy full of templates and best practices and everything broken down on how to use ClickUp. ClickUp in particular also has great documentation online. There's YouTube people who make this their whole life and they go down the ClickUp rabbit hole and tell you everything about ClickUp. So guys, there's plenty of resources that you can tap into when it comes to how to use these systems. Again, the point isn't that there's a right or a wrong system. It's just that you pick a system and you stick to it.
Can I ask you one last question here?
Yeah, go for it.
So actually, it's two related questions. So one is, I have as we're an early company and there's a lot of exploration, like it's high complexity in terms of like, oh yeah, it's not like this is what we do all the time. It's like, it's an evolving thing. So like, that's the biggest challenge I've had with like systematizing is I'm like, but it's changing a lot. Related to that, one of the things I tried to do is push decisions downstream because I don't have to think. So I'm doing a bad practice. I assign tasks over, we use WhatsApp instead of even Slack or something because it's just super easy. But I just like push things to people on WhatsApp and but I don't want to look at their task list and say, this goes at number 3, and this is the priority, this is how many days. I don't want to think that much and then be wrong about it, right? Because I'm going to be wrong about it. So how do you assign tasks in that way where like, I'm not pinging them to assign it, but I also don't want to add cognitive load to myself.
It's one way or another, there's cognitive load associated with assigning the task, right? So either I'm going to assign it in Slack, and then they're going to come back to me because they have questions, and then I'm going to check in on them 3 days later to make sure it got done. You tell me what has more cognitive load, and then I'm going to be thinking about it at 2 a.m. Did they do that? I don't know. I hope they did that. Man, I really should fall asleep right now.
They take it from Slack and add it to their task list.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So, and then I ask them to show me their task. Like they're just doing the putting it in there and kind of like that stuff.
Yes. So there's actually a shortcut that you can add into Slack that will allow you to take a Slack message and just with one click turn it into a ClickUp task. So you can automate, you can natively integrate Slack and ClickUp so that you can just do that automatically, and then you just click the button. It's a Slack message. Now it's a task. Boom, it's a task. Right. So that works. Totally works. Right. But the point is, guys, is that all tasks end up in this case, ClickUp. Somehow, some way, all tasks end up in ClickUp and tasks get managed out of ClickUp. They don't just go into Slack and then like die in the Slack thread because we lost track of it 3 days ago.
Do you have any tips for how to handle task ballooning? Like we end up with like too many unfinished things sometimes. Like you do weekly hygiene or something, or
if tasks are not getting done, then we have to go back to, do we have the right person in the role? Do they have the right training, or are they overloaded, right? Do they have more tasks than they can possibly get done? Yeah, okay. So then again, we have this incredible centralized system where we can now see, holy shit, across the board, our entire team is 60% behind on all of their tasks. What's going on here? Are we doing too much? Do we need to hire more? You actually have data. Your business will not give you data other than your team just being like, Shake, I'm really overwhelmed. That's not data. That's an opinion, right? Data is my team is 60% behind the ball on all of their due dates. That's data. What's going on there? We can double click at that. We can look at that. We make sure our team is set up for success to actually get the job done.
thank you so much.
That help? Cool. Chat was blowing up a little bit here. Soraya, you have a question. Where are you, Soraya? I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Hi.
Yes, I'm trying to unmute myself.
No, you're good.
Thank you. You know, when you say I've literally just made a task list and I'm going to copy it into ClickUps now and watch it work.
Oh, yeah.
But so is that my job though to do that, to copy and stick it into ClickUps? Like,
you're talking about the SOP task list?
Yeah.
Yeah. Generally, I would hand that off to some sort of assistant. So if you have an admin assistant or an EA or a VA, an assistant of some kind, that's generally a lower level task, and it's like 3 clicks that happen the same way every time, right? Duplicate, assign, duplicate, assign. You don't need to take your time with that.
Okay, because that is all her list. So is she just copying her list, putting it onto her task list, and doing those tasks?
Right. Okay. So if the entire checklist SOP belongs to one person, that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then yes, she's duplicating the list and it will automatically appear in her task list, right?
Okay.
Why does that matter? Doesn't that feel like an extra step? Why are we doing that? Because at scale, it's not going to be just her list. It's going to be 3 people. We're all going to be working together to get that thing done.
As well, doing stuff. Because at the minute we had it in our job card because we were like, has this been ordered? And it was doing my editing. So I said, let's have a tick list on the job card, but that's again in the job management system, not on our task list. So we were going to different places and it was driving us nuts. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. You got it. Okay. Amazing. Just looking for anything else relevant, guys. Here's the thing with huge shout out to Dennis here. Absolutely. None of you guys have to do anything that I'm saying, right? My goal in presenting this information to you is that you understand more than just what to think, but how to think. Do I need this or do I not? At what point do I implement it into this business? How can I take the best practice and apply it in my unique situation? There is no right way to operationalize your business. I believe that to my core. There is just the way that is going to get you the version of your business that you truly want. You want to implement this yourself. But Dr. Nick, thanks for showing up for me there, dude. Appreciate you. Okay. Would it be worth it to switch to ClickUp early? Sorry, I missed something. Good? Okay. Amazing. Are we good to dive into SOPs and tasks? I know we're getting to all the sexy stuff right now, guys. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for staying with me live. I promise you, these are the things that become really, really sexy at scale. Because what is sexier than you having a business that can run without you? Yeah? Okay, let's keep going then. Here we go. SOPs, tasks. How do we get shit done? Let's talk about it. All right. Tasks versus SOPs. So we've talked about SOPs. SOPs are a standard operating procedure. It's essentially a list of tasks, right? Tasks are the individual steps. SOPs are the entire recipe. And very important, not everything in your business follows an exact recipe. So this is what Shake was talking about, right? Of like, we're changing stuff all the time. How do I build a recipe if the process is different every single time? Then we don't build an SOP, right? So that's the key with SOPs, guys. Is that, and this is coming from an ops coach. I love SOPs. But the biggest thing we need to learn with SOPs is when to not use them. Because everybody and their mother's talking about SOPs and how you need SOPs and how they're the best things since sliced bread. So our tendency is to throw an SOP on everything. But the challenge with it is that when you dial in an SOP, you're locking something in place. Now it has to happen this way, exactly this way, every single time. And that doesn't apply for everything in your business. So again, that's the critical thinking component of this. Where do we need an SOP? Where do we not? Let's talk about it. So tasks, like we covered, need a name, right? What's the task? An assignee and a due date. That's literally it. That's it. Don't overcomplicate it. Tasks, individual tasks are what Shake can assign to a member of his team in Slack, and then they can pop it into their to-do list. That's a task, right? Simple. In your single source of truth, each person has their own task list. We're kind of recapping here. We're moving through this, right? Each person has their own task list. And at the end of every day, we are clearing those task lists. That's the expectation. If we're getting behind, if our due dates are starting to pile up and backlog, we're raising our hand and we're asking for help. Okay. SOPs, meeting agendas, master dashboards are all feeding into these individual to-dos. And then when we have the same set of tasks that happen again and again and again, the same set of steps, the same recipe that happens again and again and again, repeatable processes get templatized and turned into SOPs. With me on this? So a bunch of tasks happen, and then we run it again the same exact way, and we run it again the exact same way. We do it about 3 times. Maybe now we can build an SOP around it because we're looking for a consistent input to get a consistent output, repeatable process that happens the same way every time. So SOP stands for standard operating procedure. Let's talk about why they're great. Let's talk about when we should use an SOP. SOPs are the right way to go when you've got something that can be made more efficient, right? So I will tell you right now that if you can shrink your client onboarding process from 5 days to 3 days, clients will stay with you longer. That will make you money. Going from 5 days to 3 days will make you money because the client is getting the result faster. So if there is something in your business that will make you money by being more efficient, that's a great way and a great place to stick in an SOP. SOPs are an awesome place if we need something that is trainable, right? Making a task easy to train from one teammate to another. How many of us have had the issue where a teammate had a process on lockdown, they did it a particular way, they had it nailed, but they never wrote it down, and then they left? What happens? All of that intellectual property, that whole process, everything they knew, all their knowledge leaves the business with them. It's actually incredibly costly. It's incredibly risky because we have these core team members that start to learn how all this stuff runs in our business and never write it down, and then they leave. We have to make up that shit from the beginning. Super dangerous. SOPs are a great place when you need something to be, again, reliable. Same inputs equals same output every single time. Client pays us money. This is the onboarding process. Same input, same output every single time. This is where we plug SOPs in. Great for documentation. If you ever want to exit your business, guys, any investor, any buyer ever looking at your business is going to ask where the SOPs are. Why? Because a company that only runs because you know how to do everything is not a valuable company if you step away. A company that only runs because your team knows how to do everything, but your team could get hit by a bus tomorrow is not a valuable company. So if you are building this in any future version of your success, you're building this to scale and to exit it, investors are going to look for documentation, period. And then lastly, SOPs are great because they order chaos, right? They take something really big and complicated like onboarding, break them down into manageable chunks and get them done every time. This is why we love SOPs. They're great. Also great, Jonathan, job to save you money. Yeah, 100%. That's a great point, Jonathan. You don't need to hire a super experienced person to do a job if you've already got all of the thinking, all of the hard part of that job broken down into a process that can be trained. Cool. SOPs, why they're great. At the end of the day, it's about mitigating risk, right? Risk exists in our business because of people. People can get hit by buses. And so SOPs mitigate against that risk. People can leave our company. People make mistakes. And SOPs are a way of combating all of this stuff. But people are also the only source of innovation, creativity, evolution, and inspiration within your business. That's it. That's all we got. And like maybe AI is coming up on this, but like right now, people are how good ideas happen. People are how the company moves forward. People are how we try and experiment with new things. We learn things and we improve. And so the danger with SOPs, why they suck, is because it extracts creativity and innovation. SOPs are rigid. They do not change. Same input, same output. But what if this is a creative process? What if we're designing ads custom bespoke for our clients every single time? And SOP is not going to cover that. We can't SOP creativity, right? SOPs are very fragile. They're brittle. They break. If the trigger is missed, if the client doesn't pay, we're never going to run the onboarding process because that was the trigger and the trigger was missed. So now we miss the entire process. And it reduces and extracts creativity and innovation. If there's a quote unquote right way to do it, then why would I try anything else? If my boss comes to me on the first day and says, hey, welcome to the team. Here's the right way to do your job. What are you going to do? You're going to do it exactly that way, exactly the same every single time. What does that prevent? It prevents you from doing it better. It prevents you from innovating. It prevents you from improving. It prevents your team from moving forward and bringing ideas to the table, right? What we do is we reduce people. We reduce them into the cog in the machine. I call them the SOP monkey, right? And there's a way, like there's a total version of your business that is just run by SOP monkeys. Does it work? Yeah, it totally works. It's also boring as fuck business because there's no innovation. There's no creativity. And the issue is if your market is innovating, like if any of you guys run digital marketing agencies, there's a new hot thing coming out every 3 months. And if your company's not moving forward every 3 months, then you fall behind and you go out of business. So we need to find a way to preserve and protect creativity and innovation while still having SOPs. Does that make sense? Can't you add something into the SOP to leave room for some creativity? I got you, Rudy. You're so in on this, right? So it's actually simpler than we think. We can still have the SOP. The SOP is great. It comes down to how do we roll it out? Very simply. On that very first day, what am I saying to this new team member? Am I saying, welcome to the team. Here are your SOPs. Learn them. Do your job exactly this way forever. That's option number one. Option number two is, welcome to the team. Here are your SOPs. This is the best guess that we have come up with on how to do this so far. And as of today, this SOP is yours now. And my expectation is that you will be updating and iterating on this SOP as you bring improvement and innovation into your role. I expect you to keep it up to date, and I expect you to improve it over time. Same SOP, same exact SOP. The only thing that changes is how do we roll it out. There are a couple key pieces that I want to hit on in this script. Movie number two, right? Movie number two, there's exactly 3 things that happen here. The first thing is that we transfer ownership. These are now yours. These are your SOPs, not my SOPs. So if somebody's going to be updating this SOP, it ain't going to be me. It's going to be you. This is your process. And because it's yours, my expectation is that you be the one to be innovating it and updating it, right? That's number 2, iteration and innovation. I am setting an expectation from day one that we be improving. As a team, we be innovating and improving constantly. That is baseline. And when that happens, number 3, you will be the one to update them. This exact script is how I have built my entire operations business without building a single SOP. You guys saw that SOP library. You saw how many SOPs are in there. Haven't built one. Not one. My team built their SOPs, and then they manage them, and then they update them, and then they innovate on their processes, and they update those too. My team owns their SOPs, not me. But on this? So if you're going to have SOPs, these are the ones that I recommend you start with. Did you have incentives for them to update the SOPs? No, Jonathan. I just set the expectation that it's part of their damn job. I'm not going to give you a bonus for doing an SOP. It is a baseline expectation that if you're in my company, you're innovating on how you do your work and then you're documenting it. Just part of the role, right? This isn't something that should need to be incentivized. If our team fully understands that they have complete ownership for their role, they have complete ownership for the documentation, and they understand why the documentation is important, right? They need to get that. They need to understand why SOPs matter. But provided I've done that, what am I paying you for? To do your job, I'm already paying you for that. It's called your salary. With me on that? Great question, Jonathan. Cool. SOP starter pack. If you were to have any 4 SOPs in your company, these are the 4 that I probably recommend you start with. Client onboarding. Somebody asked what is onboarding, guys. What you will learn as you continue to grow and scale is that your client onboarding process is the single highest lever that you have in your company for client retention. Do a great onboarding process, clients will stay with you longer, they will pay you more money, period. Fuck up onboarding, clients will leave, period. So if you're gonna build any system to start with, if you're gonna optimize anything in your business, make it client onboarding. Number 2 is client fulfillment. You're the only person, like you and your team are the only guys that know how do we actually do what we do, right? It's client fulfillment. So what's the SOP to do what we do and make sure that we get the best results for our clients every time? To Shake's point, maybe this can't all be SOP'd out. Maybe there's some creativity involved. Maybe there's some, like there's something unique and bespoke that happens, unique every time, custom every time to your client. Cool. That's not gonna be an SOP then, right? That's something we're going to train our team on how to bring their creativity into that process to achieve a certain set of desired outcomes. Failed and changed payments. This is where you guys are losing money. When I stepped into my first company as COO, they were losing approximately $50,000 a month because they had no processes around how to fix failed payments. And then lastly, client offboarding. Jackie asked what is client offboarding. That means Joey, we either are firing the client or a client is quitting, right? Client leaves. How do we shut them down? How do we shut down the systems? How do we get them out of all our systems? How do we turn off their payments? How do we do all the things that moves the client out? Cool. So clients coming in, delivery on clients, client hits a problem with payment, client leaves. These are the 4 core processes that need to happen in your business, right? Because again, these are the things that happen the same way every time. Yeah, it's like chess. Beginning of the game is the same, end of the game is the same. The middle is where we have fun. Cool. Good on this? Oh, great. That was a short presentation. So guys, the key with SOPs, I'm actually going to throw you a different QR code here. The key with SOPs, right, is know when to use them. Know when to use them, know when to build them, and know when all you're doing is actually just eroding the creativity and innovation of your team. Know when to let your team have space to play, have space to innovate, have space to create things and try things and do things a different way. And then how you roll out your SOPs, make sure you're rolling them out in a way where the expectation isn't that you're reducing your team to never have a single critical thought all by themselves. Just follow the SOP mindlessly all day, every day. Because all you're doing, right? Again, they'll show up, they'll do it right, it works. But all you're doing is you're taking all of this human potential, all this innovation and creativity that your team has inside of them all the time. And you're saying, not in my house. Do not bring that here. You are not invited. Cool. Then they're not going to. Then they're going to pick up art and music, and they're going to find other pursuits for their creativity. Or they could bring it to work for you. That's on us. We choose that in how we lead. We choose that in how we roll out SOPs. We choose that in how we encourage our team to think for themselves and have their own ideas. You will pay your team the same amount of money. It doesn't cost you anything for your team to be more innovative, more creative, more proactive, take more ownership. It costs you nothing, but it gets you massive ROI back. So why wouldn't we do that, right? And SOPs are the most dangerous part of all of that because it's so easy for us just to fall into the SOP black hole and never think critically about it again. Okay, we've covered a lot. Systems. SOPs. I also want to make sure that we leave any time for questions around what I covered last time, which is hiring a team member, training a team member, onboarding a team member, right? Getting the right people in the right roles and then plugging them into the right ecosystem. That's what we've covered so far. Right people in the right role, supported by the right systems so they can do their work as effectively as possible. These two things combined are what 2x your team productivity, are what make at scale. It's the difference in profit margin between 15% and 50%, right? Like it's that extreme, how much more money you can make and how much more money you can keep when you've got the right people doing the right things set up by the right systems. All right, I'm gonna shut up now. Let's do some Q&A. I'm with you guys until I think quite a bit of time here, and we will go until we run out of questions. The last thing that I want to make available to you guys, or slash, if you can make this available to me, I have a quick feedback form. I would love your feedback. So if you could grab that and fill that out, that would be amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, Jake, how can I help you?
So again, thank you so much for the presentation. Really stellar, learned a lot. And I'm really curious. I mean, I'm in the AI space. It's my obsession. So that's what we'll talk about. Okay. But I want to ask you how you see the role of like these emerging technologies in the operations side of businesses. If you have any experience with this, because that's something we're actually very interested in helping like bigger companies with. And we're always looking for people we can bring in who can like, explain how this works, like do that side of things. But it would have to be kind of an AI sort of overlapping way to do things somewhat.
Yeah. I mean, Jake, if you're asking me if I'd be interested in speaking on that, some of your audiences, totally do. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. I think if you guys follow that QR code, it should take you to my Instagram page eventually. But if not, I will drop it right here in the chat so you have that. But yes, I would love that. And if it's helpful to you guys for me to come in and speak to any of your people, let me know because I love this stuff.
And what are your thoughts on how AI, because I was thinking about this for a little bit, I was like, these client fulfillment businesses have these repeatable problems and not easy to solve. And what you've put together is like fantastic, but people have to run the machine. And I'm very, very curious if you've seen where AI is going in this space, if you think it's going anywhere at all. There's stuff like Motion, which people have recommended to me. Have you looked at that tool in particular?
Yeah, Notion's a great tool. Notion is another.
Motion with an M.
I don't think I have.
The website is usemotion.com.
Cool, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
In general, like I'll answer this question, and if you want to dive deeper down the AI rabbit hole, guys, I'm happy to. But essentially, where I see AI going, right, is that it's essentially eradicating the SOP monkey. Right? That part, like in the next 5 years, we're probably gonna figure out an AI tool that will do just about every single step in your business. That's probably true. So the SOP monkey way of doing business is gonna just become AI businesses. And there are clients that we work with right now where they have like one team member and then 50 custom GPTs that are running a multi-7-figure business. That totally works. So then where does that leave room for humans? Innovation, creativity, running the machine, building and designing the machine, right? It gets humans back to the human side of doing the work because none of us ever really wanted to be the SOP monkeys to begin with. And we as leaders have the opportunity to really lean into that and bring innovative, creative people onto our team and then supercharge the hell out of them with AI. So that's generally how I see it. Okay, I'm seeing hands going up. Let's run it. Yada, how can I help you?
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So thank you so much. This is really helpful information. I own a mental health group practice, and I'm struggling with all of this, everything you're talking about. So one of the things specifically is leads come in different ways, like whether they reach out via the website, whether they call the office, whether I receive an email. And I have a virtual assistant that answers the phone during the day and then a different person in the evenings. But the dilemma is, oh, did you call this person back? Did you, did you get no answer? Did you get them scheduled? What would you suggest in terms of?
Yeah. So you're reaching the size now where what you're looking at is what's called a CRM, right? A CRM stands for a client relationship manager, something like that. And it is essentially the single source of truth. It's that powerful, that important of a system, but for your front end team, meaning marketing and sales, right? So your people, when leads are coming in, those are marketing leads. They need to be converted into sales leads. There's a dedicated system that should handle all of that. There are as many CRMs out there as there are single source of truth. The go-to probably in the space is called Go High Level. That's the most popular one. But for medical, there might be a specific CRM that you want to use due to HIPAA compliance and that kind of thing. So I would look for, top CRMs for insert my business here. Plug it into like ChatGPT and it will talk you through what your various options are. But it's a system that essentially has all of the leads coming to one place. And then one person can see if the other person has responded or not. One person can respond at 9 a.m. They leave, lead messages us back, and then the next person can respond back to that because it's all in one communication channel. It's all in one text with the lead, right? So there's a system that will help you do that.
And exactly what would I plug into? You said plug something into ChatGPT.
Yeah, so like best CRMs for blank, right? Dropping that into the chat here. Best CRMs for my business model, for mental health group coaching practices.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, totally. Because again, if you're in medical guys, there's HIPAA, there's some specifics that go in there. Otherwise, if you're in the digital space, probably the go-to CRM is called Go High Level. Go High Level. Awesome. We are just gonna run these questions start to finish. Let me look at the chat really quick, make sure I don't lose anything. Colette, yes, I do private coaching. DM me guys on Instagram if you want some one-on-one time with me. And so start with CRM and transition to a single source of truth. You'll have both. CRM is on front end, marketing and sales. Single source of truth is on back end, product, client success, operations. So these are the two biggest systems that are gonna run your business. If you have both, you're getting to multiple 7 figures before you have to really layer in anything else. Okay. Miriam has questions about hiring. We will get back to that. Are there other solutions mentioned around HIPAA compliance? Yes. Again, I would refer to ChatGPT because it's going to give you the best list, Colette, of which of these systems are going to do the HIPAA stuff that you need versus not. Okay, amazing. Charlie, let's run it. What do we got?
Yeah. Thank you so much for the training. Very insightful, very thorough and comprehensive. My question is about managing liability and positions of trust. Like how do you handle liability risks in critical roles? Let's say an accountant, for instance, a mistake on their part could lead to issues with the IRS, or an error made by a key player might damage, for example, a client relationship. Like I know your previous training emphasized a thorough hiring process, but how do you mitigate risk with independent contractors or roles where candidates might not go through such a rigorous process, especially at the start? I'd love to hear your thoughts on reducing liability injuries.
Yeah, so guys, if there's areas of your business where liability is high, those are the areas that I would double down on systems and SOPs, right? SOP is a great practice to reduce risk because what's an SOP? It means that we're following every single step correctly every single time. So the likelihood of balls getting dropped, the likelihood of your account making a mistake, all of that likelihood drops when there's a dedicated, really rigid and robust system that guides them through that step-by-step process every single time. So SOPs are great for liability mitigation, but again, not every part of your business is equally risky. So that's what we need to put some creative thinking towards. In terms of hiring, and you asked about if we're hiring an independent contractor who's maybe not going through such a robust process, how do we make sure that they still got that attention to detail and detail orientedness? Guys, I still send my independent contractors through the same exact process. I don't waver on the process. The process is the process. The hiring system that I presented to you guys, I don't care if this person is doing 5 hours a week of work for you. If they're in a critical role whereby making a mistake, it would cost you a ton of money and bring legal liability onto your business, I am stress testing the shit out of who I'm going to put into that role. I'm gonna make attention to detail. I'm gonna bury that stuff throughout the hiring system. So I'm gonna put a code word in the job description and then have them tell me the code word in the written application. I'm gonna put a typo into the middle of the skill assessment and I'm gonna tell them to fact check me on or find the typo, right? I'm going to do as much as I can. I'm making this stuff up as I go. I'm doing as much as I can to stress test for attention to detail. Because what we realize is that in this role, if you miss the detail, you cost me money. So I'm building a hiring system that will filter for people who do not miss details. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah, guys, the process is robust, but that doesn't mean it takes a long time because it's automated. So you're able to just have it running all the time. And in fact, it's going to save you time more than cost you time because it's going to kick out 95% of the not attention to detail oriented people who missed the code word. And then you're just not going to interview those people. So you're not going to waste your time with it. Cool. There was one other question on hiring while we're out. Miriam, how do you source for the right people? How do you use recruiters, or do you do the hiring yourself? Miriam, I would refer you to the last masterclass that I did. Jackie, maybe you could drop that into the chat. I gave you guys my entire blow by blow hiring and training process. So that I do all of my hiring myself and I run that play. Sanai, am I saying your name correctly?
Yeah, you're saying it correctly.
Nice to meet you.
I just started. Hi, nice to meet you too. Thank you for your training. I just started SMMA, and I'm trying to hire a video editor now. I'm wondering if I should go on like Fiverr and hire someone as just a contractor for each client, like specifically, or if I should do it full time. And also, how much should I pay them if I'm going to do it full time? I don't know if you cover that, or like what percentage of the deal should I give them?
Okay. Do you have enough clients to have a full time video editor?
I'd say so. Yeah.
Okay, then I would definitely go full time. Definitely go full time. Yeah. The reason why is because when you guys are like freelance versus full time, the only key difference here, guys, is where are these people putting their attention? Right? Are they their own business owner who needs to manage their own cash flow and their own client base and has to split their attention across 5 different clients and 5 different projects? Or are they putting 100% of that creativity and innovation to work in service to you and to your clients? Right? One full-time video editor is actually going to do better work for you than 5 freelance video editors, because one person is fully focused on your clients and getting them the best possible results versus 5 people who are only spending 25% of their attention on your client. And if it's not that good, I have another client coming in, so it doesn't really matter. See what I mean? Yeah. Which isn't to say don't use freelancers. Love me some freelancers. But if you've got the full-time scope of work, hire the full-time person. Use freelancers for when you like only, I have 5 hours a week of work in this role. I have 5 hours of video editor a week, or work a week. Great. Then I'm going to go on Fiverr and I'm going to hire somebody for 5 hours a week.
Okay. And also, what percentage should I pay them of each deal?
I don't know if I would pay them a percentage, to be honest. I would probably pay them a flat salary. Okay. There's a really interesting book, guys, called Drive. Drive by Daniel Pink. I will find it and I'll drop it in the chat here. And essentially what he finds, especially in creative roles, putting money as an incentive towards creativity makes people less creative. It actually shuts them down. It stresses them out. It narrows their tunnel vision towards I want the money, I want the money, I want the money. And they actually lose sight of all of the creative potential options that they could have like made work and brought to bear if they had just been more open-minded and more creative, right? And so that's not true for every role, but the reality is that pay, we as leaders always jump to, hey, pay a person more to get them to work harder, pay a person more to get them to stay longer. That's not actually what drives us. So if you want more information on that, I would recommend Drive. He also has a TED Talk. It's absolutely fantastic. Cool. Good tonight.
Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Jonathan, how are you, man? How can I help you?
Hi, Jhana. Thanks for your training. Liking it so far. I just have a couple of questions. Have you ever tried using ClickUp as a CRM?
Yes. And it breaks at scale. CRMs are built to do one thing and one thing only, which is help you close clients and manage an ecosystem of thousands of leads, right? Again, at scale, guys, we're building systems for scale. So maybe our Google spreadsheet works awesome when we have 2 leads per week coming in, but when we have 2,000, that Google sheet isn't going to work so well for you. Same thing with your single source of truth versus your CRM. CRMs are built to scale acquisition machines. Build your marketing, build your sales, scale it up. Project management systems are built to manage tasks and complicated teams and workflows, right? So I've seen clients try and run their task managers out of Go High Level, out of their CRM system. Doesn't work very well, and vice versa. You've got 2 core systems in your business. Invest in these separate pieces of technology because they're really specialized and skilled at doing separate things.
Okay, thank you. I figured you'd probably say something like that. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was scalable with ClickUp.
Yep. No, good to double check it. But in general, you have one front end CRM and then one back end single source of truth. Great question.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, you got it.
And one other thing. So, what industries have you noticed? I run an AI automation agency, so I'm also trying to build out systems for businesses. So I'm just curious to know what industries you've noticed, the systems in general have benefited, and then like what problems you've say would have been impacted the most with these systems. Like you mentioned onboarding early on, is that a huge one? So like, do you have any others that come into mind?
So in terms of industries or businesses, I would say all businesses will benefit from systems. I can't think of a single, correct me if I'm wrong here, drop it in the chat. I'd love to have the conversation, but I cannot think of a single business that if it's trying to grow and scale will not benefit from systems. That's like saying, can you think of a human body that won't benefit from having a skeleton? No, skeletons help pretty much every single body out there, especially if it's trying to get big and strong, right? In terms of where within your company are systems going to be of most benefit, when we're starting out, it's going to be on the front end, marketing and sales, right? That's our CRM system. And then as we grow and scale, it's going to be the single source of truth. Like those are the 2 areas that the company needs the most systemization because it's where the most balls and most complexity happens. Does that answer your question, Jonathan?
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe some other so the market and sales, so that's like onboarding. So like what about I guess that could also be sales and marketing too, like creating proposals. And
sales marketing?
Yeah, that's sales. I guess it's really all sales and marketing.
Yep, totally.
And social media and stuff like that.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, guys, at scale, systems are going to be in every part of your business, right? Like when you're really, really talking there, think of like any big company that you've ever heard of. Is there any part of their business that doesn't have a system? No, systems are everywhere because they're trying to coordinate so much action across so many people, across so many complicated processes, and the only thing that can do that is systems, right? If you want to run a like boutique artist studio where you're hand painting photos of people's dogs, maybe you don't need a system on how you do client fulfillment for that business, right? Highly creative, highly artistic, and stays small. Cool, probably need less systems there. But if your goal is to scale, and importantly, if your goal is to exit, either you sell your company one day or you are able to exit yourself out of the day-to-day weeds of that company, you need systems. Because if you don't have a system, you are the system. And there is no way to get yourself out of the day-to-day weeds when you are the system.
That's right. You are the product. You need to separate yourself from the product.
You're building an asset. You're building a machine. The machine needs parts that will run without you. Yeah, cool. Yes, Buy Back Your Time, Rudy is a great book. I do some coaching for Dan over at SaaS Academy. We talk about the same things, single source of truth, right? And so what Dan is talking about in that book is how do we systematically build and hire an A-player team? You guys have my masterclass if you need help on how to do that. What he doesn't cover in that book is how do we then set up our A-players for success. Gallup did this huge study. They pulled like 2,000 teams and they measured the highest productivity, highest performance teams. They asked them all these questions. And one of the questions that came back as having the highest correlation to the world's best performing teams across all industries and sizes was, I have what I need to be successful in my role every day. Pretty much that, right? I am set up for success in my role every day. The teams that said, yes, I am set up for success, whatever that meant to them, I'm set up for success. Those teams performed the highest, like 2.1x higher than average teams. What we're talking about with systems are just what your team needs to be set up for success. We are not setting our team up for success if we're asking them to click through and find shit in like 1,000 Slack threads and 100 different softwares. We're not setting them up for success. We're not setting our team up for success if we toss them in the deep end as opposed to going through a structured onboarding process. Take the time to help your team be successful, and they will help your company be successful. Does that work? As a blank statement there? Okay, cool. Good question. Soraya, how can I help you?
Here again. You know when you send over the list to the
Yes.
VA?
Yes. Yes.
Well, so I've got a commercial flooring company, and so you're dealing with multiple projects.
Yep.
And each new project that comes in is like 15 steps, you know, all the different steps. So say that day she has 3 projects come in. Is she copying that list 3 times? And how will she know which job she's working on?
Yep, totally. Yep. So
take like 2 weeks to get through.
yeah, it's a great question. So short answer is yes, right? Like if we're onboarding 3 clients every single day, then we're duplicating and launching 3 client onboarding SOPs every single day. Because what needs to happen? All of those steps need to be knocked out for all of those clients every single time. And so if anything, if we're doing that much, if we're onboarding that many clients, even more reason to have SOPs. Because if you're trying to keep all that straight in your brain, inevitably balls are going to drop, right? So I double down. That's when we double down on the SOP. And what we're probably going to do is we're going to start automating pieces of it. Because if you're doing this 3 times every day, there's a lot of manual actions that are probably happening every single day. So for example, an onboarding automation can be, instead of your VA having to go in and duplicate that task and assign it, you can automate that. You can have an onboarding form that your salesperson fills out, right? ClickUp has forms, Monday.com has forms, Go High Level has forms. So they fill out a form with all the client information. And then when that form gets submitted, it automatically triggers all of that information to get populated into the master dashboard, all of the tasks to get assigned, all of the due dates to get assigned, all of that can be automated and then pushed, right? So because you're doing that at high frequency, you might want to start automating. Yes.
That's brilliant. I didn't know you could do that. So I'll set it up. But would it? So say the sales guy fills out that form, plugs it in, and then it sends me the list to do.
Yep.
But say she's got the list for let's say, and then the next list for commercial company.
Yep.
Disappear. Now she's only got half a list and 2 full lists, and now she's got 3 half lists. So how do we? Sorry, it's the way my brain works. How does she know which list, which project?
Yep. Great question. So you can have a naming convention where essentially every task list, every task on the list will have client name and then the step of the task. Client name, collect payment. Client name, launch call. Client name, whatever the step is, right? So she can actually attribute the task back to the individual client because it's right there in the name of the task. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Again, that can be automated. But yes, if you're doing it manually, you would need to go in and you need to copy and paste the client name into every task.
How do you automate that?
Again, this is where ClickUp automations come in, and that's one we have time for today. But you can absolutely do that. The other way you can do it, Soraya, is you can have it all as a subtask, right? So if you've got, just pull this up again, if you have it as a subtask in a single list, then she can just look at the parent task and it will say client name, onboarding process, and then she knows.
That's way better. I'll do that.
Yep.
What did you just call it?
A subtask. Essentially, it's a list of subtasks as opposed to being individual tasks, and it has a parent task that has the client name.
And just one more question. We're going through a recession in New Zealand, so we have to let a lot of staff go. And so we decided to restructure and get contractors in that do the actual installation. Is it wrong to ask them to wear our uniforms, do things our way? Because they're just using it their way too, their uniform, their van, you know?
It's a really great question. I would look at the legal HR side of that in New Zealand. New Zealand may have, like the US has all kind of HR practices around contractors versus not. In the US, that would not be a problem. In New Zealand, I'm not sure. So I would double check and make sure that you're not violating any HR practices there. But in general,
no. We wouldn't have to wear their t-shirts, but that was it.
Yeah, like in general, that wouldn't be a problem because they are a contractor for your business, right? And so there's a set of expectations that go along with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Jake, my man, guys, Jake is getting the most value out of this entire call because he's asking the questions. If you guys want more value out of the call, ask the questions. How can I help you, Jake?
One was around the workflow on ClickUp. Like, did you show, like, do you think you show that, or like how you actually do it up? Do you teach that? Should I look at YouTube? Like,
sorry, you're gonna have to say that again. What workflow?
Like on ClickUp itself, like just the flows of, okay, here's what we're setting up first. Here's how things flow into each other. Here's how this, like, do you show how this gets operationalized and stuff?
So the best flow that I've got for you here is what I showed you guys, and it's not good. Like if you want an actual like mind map, then I would build that unique to your business, Jake, right? Okay. This is the flow. You want the flow, this is the flow, right? This is how everything flows through your single source of truth. If we're talking about the specific mind map of like client onboarding gets filled out and then pushes this information to master dashboard and the client invoice gets sent in Panda document, right? Like that kind of step by step, that's what mind maps are for. And I would map out the process and then you give it to your operator and then they build it in ClickUp. If you don't have an operator, then you give it to yourself and you build it in ClickUp, right? But you can map out how an entire thing flows start to finish.
Okay, so the second question, very related. So I love learning about this stuff and I hate doing it. Could I just be hiring a COO?
Yes, you can. Yeah. In fact, my third and final masterclass is going to be all around operations, operators, who they are, how to find them, how to hire them, and how you know it's the right time to bring them onto your team. But guys, my big permission slip, like you 22 people that are still with me are the absolute freaking heroes because the average visionary founder is like systems SOPs, fuck that, and they fly away, right? Which doesn't make them not important. It just means that they are like nails on a chalkboard for you, which is fine because there's people like me in the world where systems and SOPs are like our most fun thing ever. And if you go hire one of those people, they will build your systems and SOPs and be happy about it all day, right? So no, if this is not you, right? If you're interested in this stuff, you're still on the call because you know it's important, but it's not you, it's not your intrinsic zone of genius, then I can guarantee you will make more money for your company by focusing on the things that you do uniquely well and that light you up than by trying to wrangle SOPs. So at some point, it will make your company more money to just hire in someone who can do all of this stuff for you so that you don't have to. And I give every single person here the permission slip that if this stuff is so boring to you, that's okay. Hire that person in and let them take 100% of this off of your plate. And we're going to get that on our final masterclass. Yes.
And that's something that's very important is like the person has to enjoy doing the thing.
Yeah,
when you say you enjoy it, like what makes you enjoy it? Like what is it about that you enjoy it?
Isn't that so dang mind-boggling? I coach operators, guys. I coach operators. We have a coaching program for these people. And every week we go in and somebody's like, hey, can you guys look at my SOP? And everybody leans forward. It's like, hell yeah, we can look at your SOP. Get in there. Give me that SOP. Tell me all about it, right? They love it. They really, honest to God, love it. They love making things work better. They love making things work faster. They love supporting a team so that a team can do its work as best as possible. They love it. Those people exist. And so if you have the budget, go and find that person. Because let's be honest, their SOPs are going to be better than yours. Their systems are going to be better than yours because they love it. And you don't. And that's okay. Because what you love is marketing and sales and bringing a boatload of money into your company. And they do not love that. So this is where we get to divide and conquer and get the best of both worlds. Cool. Ask Jhana to build them for you. Yes, 100%. We can build these. We can hire you these people. If it's time for you to bring in an operator, talk to us. We can hire you that person. This is what we do. Okay, we got a few final questions here. I think who's next? Soraya, you're next. Soraya, you with us? You muted and video off, so I can't hear. There you are. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I didn't know. I thought your hand just disappears. I'll drop it down.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, how can I help you, ma'am?
Okay, with the CRM, so someone is manually putting the information in there. Is that how that works?
CRMs work a variety of different ways. You can create, like good CRMs will actually automate a lot of that lead entry. So if a lead comes in through a paid ad, it will automatically populate all of that information into your CRM. If a lead comes in through your call software, then the software can plug into your CRM and populate all of that lead information. If you have a lead walk through the door, then someone is going to have to manually upload that information because the lead walked through the door. There was no system that collected the information.
Okay, and then there should be an SOP for what happens once we get the lead, call the client, schedule the client, client is ready to go.
Right.
That's what the SOP.
All of those, yeah, those are all steps of the SOP client paperwork, right? And when do we send that paperwork? And do we text them to remind them that their appointment is coming up in 24 hours, right? All of those, if those are happening manually right now in your business, those could be steps of the SOP.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, great question. Charlie, what's up?
Yeah, thank you. My question is, how do you ensure that do you have SOPs on creating SOPs for your team? And my other question was, how do you ensure that your team creates SOPs that are sustainable and not overly influenced by individual personalities or personal preferences?
Great question. Great question. So do we have an SOP on creating SOPs? The way that we do it, because I have an operator in my company, is that each individual team member is responsible for like building their SOP, right? Because they're the subject matter expert. They're the person that launches the ad. My ops manager doesn't know how to launch the ad. They can't build that SOP. So this person's going to go and describe how. That's the AI tool I provided with you guys. They're going to film the whole video. It's going to turn it into an SOP. And then my ops manager is responsible for making sure that stays organized, right? That it's in the right folder, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, my ops manager isn't managing our SOP library all that much either. Each individual is responsible for it. And we use something like before we used AI for it, Charlie. Yeah, my ops manager had to go through and like essentially like templatize the SOP so that they all look standard. Now the AI will do it, so it doesn't really matter. You can also just throw this into a custom GPT and say, hey, make this an SOP, and then it'll just boom, 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 AI for you. So that would probably be the fastest way I recommend to do it. And then to your question around individual personalities, great fucking question. That's where our SOPs, when it's time for a process to get documented out, the very first time, our ops manager will sit with that individual doing the SOP and walk them through and like help them bring the process to it, right? Because like let's imagine we have a media buyer and they're like, I could never process this out. It is my ops, right? And you're like, it's not your art. Like there's actually 5 steps and you just have to follow the steps. So the ops manager is going to sit down with the artist and say, hey, talk to me about this. How do you do that? How do you do that? Well, if that happens, then what happens? Well, if that happens, then what happens? And they'll bring the process side into it and help them build out what I was just talking about with Shake, which is like a process mind map, right? Here's all the steps and here's the flow chart and here's how it all flows together. And they're going to help the creative understand there actually is a process that they bring to that process every time and then assign them to it. Cool. Your process has 3 major components. These are 3 SOPs. Go build them. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, totally. Great question. All right, guys. Last call. Questions, last call. Soraya's got something.
I just following on from that. Like you talked about an artist losing the creativity. Well, I call mine soulless artist because he's the head, the hands, and the heart. You know, they get real jobs like that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm no floor layer. I know a bit of a process, but shit goes wrong all the time and they have to fix it. And they know what they're doing. I wouldn't have anyone that's not a qualified installer do it.
Totally.
And I went to site and I thought, oh, I'll make an SOP on how to weld the floor. But I thought, if they know their trade, they're not going to follow my instructions because I'm no floor layer. So would I not bother making SOPs for, like we've got them, like if there's a crash on the van or if someone stole tools off the van, we have SOPs, but not for the actual installation? Yep. Do they need one or should I let them be creative and lay their floors?
This is a really good question. And again, this is where we get into the interplay, guys, between SOPs and creativity, right? If you're laying bespoke, custom, artistic floors that are different for every house and every type, and you're hiring people with 10 years of experience who have their whole lineage of laying floors, and they lay thousands of floors, is an SOP really going to do any of the things, right? At the end of the day, guys, systems, I can't believe this is taking me this long to say it because I say this all the freaking time. What is the desired outcome? What's the desired outcome of this SOP, right? We have desired outcomes. It's all of these things, right? Let me show you my list here, right? Does this process need to be made more efficient? Does it need to be made more trainable? No, all of these guys have training. You're not training anybody. Does it need to be made more reliable? Maybe. Let's circle back around to that one. Does this need to be documented? Not unless you guys have some like unique way that you lay floors that's intellectual property and that some buyer is going to want to buy one day, right? And then does it order the chaos? Maybe, right? So reliable and ordering chaos. Those would be the reasons to have an SOP around this process. But is an SOP actually going to achieve this? What's the desired outcome? Is it actually going to get this done? Probably not. Probably that's an SOP that's going to go on a list somewhere. Nobody's ever going to look at it. And in fact, they're going to laugh in your face for thinking that you would even tell them how to do this job that they've been doing for 20 years. What might be helpful is a like final touches checklist that makes sure all of the things get done, right? So if we have dropped balls where we're not getting a reliable output every single time, we can let the artist do their artistry, and then we can have them run through a checklist to make sure that they didn't miss any key points, right? And that might be a way of creating some reliability and ordering the chaos while still leaving room for the creative expression.
Yeah, they have like a tick list and all that's automated. They'll say like take it before the picture and take it off. Take
exactly.
it after
that's quality assurance, right? That's making sure your client is getting a great result every single time.
Because I did make an SOP for one little step, and you're right, they did laugh and say,
I bet they did.
Yeah.
That's right. If your model was different, if you were hiring high school kids who have never laid floor before, and those were the people you were hiring, then I would build some SOPs and I have a lot of training around it, right? So again, guys, I'm not teaching you what to think here. I'm teaching you how to think. Is the SOP the right tool to get us to the desired outcome? If yes, use it. If not, don't use it. And even if your competitor down the street has an SOP for that thing, their business is different than yours. So think critically about whether it's going to get you the actual result that you're looking for.
That saved me a lot of hard work.
Exactly. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Shake, what's up, man?
Thank you again for being so generous with your time.
You're welcome.
I wanted to ask you for yourself, like, how are you looking at scaling your own business? What are your business goals? Like, what's the future look like for you, and what's the direction of your company?
All these questions are about me, and I'm like totally flattered. But this isn't a dating show, so like if you have any questions,
no, I'm asking you as a business owner.
To me on Instagram, guys. Really simply, what I love doing is this. Really simply, what I love doing is this. I love helping entrepreneurs understand what is operations, how is it going to make me more money, how is it going to make me more successful. That's it. And so I am doing exactly what I intend to do with my business and where I want to take it. Right now, I'm talking to 21 people, and next year I want to be talking to 200 people. And Jack's going to do that because he's going to blow this thing out of the water. And we're going to do great work together. It's going to be fucking awesome, right? So that's success for me, is getting in front of more people and supporting you guys and learning these lessons early, right? I'm sharing all these horror stories with you guys so that you don't have to make those mistakes. You literally just get to skip them entirely because we got the right information to you at the right time, and you never have to learn it the hard way. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate you, dude. I'm just making fun, but I do appreciate the question.
Were all my questions about you in particular? I don't think so.
It's okay. It's all right.
I asked any first person because I want to know the person's opinion on stuff, not like a general categorical answer, because those tend to be like more generic.
Totally true. Yeah, guys, and I've got my own lens, right? If Jack brings in another ops person, he might be like, SOPs are the way, and you need an SOP for absolutely fucking everything, right? So again, it's not about what to think, it's about how to think. And my hope is that you guys have learned how to plug in the systems, the SOPs, the task management is going to get you the result that you're looking for in your company. Okay, Jack, what do we got now? Good?
Awesome. Thank you guys for coming. Jhana, thank you so much for this absolute systems masterclass. Guys, if you could just drop in the chat real quick, thank you, some fire emojis, anything just to show Jhana how much we appreciate her coming today and sharing her wisdom with us. This was awesome. Part 1, amazing. Part 2, amazing. Guys, be on the lookout. We do have a part 3 coming. Operations deep dive coming soon. And yeah, Jhana, just thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the chat before we leave?
No, I think that's it. And remember, guys, like you asked, actually, Shagan, this is legit, right? Quick final thing. All right, yes, one more rant. I had the absolute honor and pleasure of being mentored directly by Layla Hermosi when I was first stepping into a COO role. And when I asked her, girl, why? Right? Like, why are you spending your time with me? She said, because I know you're actually going to execute. So if you want to do me a favor, take the information that I've given you and actually put it to work. And then come into our 3rd and final masterclass and tell me what worked, what didn't, where you got stuck, where I can help you move this forward. I'm giving you this time because I ask that you actually take the information and you put it to work inside your business so that we can change your life and your company. What I ask you do not do is drop a lot of fire emojis, fly away, and then never think about this again. If you want to do me a favor, actually implement. Come into my 3rd masterclass. Tell me how it went, and let's take the next step together, okay?
Amazing. Jhana, thank you so much. This is awesome. And I appreciate you sharing that story with us about Layla. It's very cool.
Yeah,
So anyways, guys, thank you so much. Next week, we do have a live call on Tuesday the 26th with John Resnick. He's been a part of taking some massive companies to market, including Jewel. And his company does about 150 million a year. So I definitely suggest everyone be on the call, come and ask some great questions. It's going to be awesome next Tuesday. I think that's our call next week. So stay tuned. And then after that will be December. So we got a bunch of live call announcements and workshop announcements coming soon. So absolutely can't wait to see you guys next week. Jhana, thank you so much. This is awesome. And everybody have a great day, great night.
Thanks, guys. Bye, everyone.